Hello, hello, buenas tardes, buenos días, buenas noches. Hello, it is this Chancleta Generation podcast.
Hello, Clem. How are you doing?
Hello. I am good. I'm very happy to be back with you again.
I'm happy to see you.
And it's getting a little warmer out. And
the weather is a tease.
It's getting...
Gives us warm days and then it gets cloudy and cold again.
Yeah, it's giving a little bit of taste. But it definitely is... the sun is out for longer, which is...
Yes. The hours of light,
so that's
much appreciated.
Yes. Yeah, very nice.
Absolutely.
So, so for those of you that are not living in New England, the weather here is very caprichoso.
Yes.
And so we either jump from winter immediately to summer, or and then we go back to winter. But we also believe very strongly in fire pits. And so we still go outside, and whenever my parents come over and
they like to have a fire outside,
and we're like, oh, we can go for a walk, and they're like, are you insane? It's like 50 degrees outside. And we're like, yeah, it's a beautiful day to go for a walk. And then we can sit by the fire pit. They're like, are you insane? So, yeah. Anyway, we'll take it.
It's moving in the right direction.
Yes, exactly. Yep. And then we're going to complain about being too hot and all this stuff. So,
you will never catch me
that's
saying
the other thing that
I'm
about New England. Like, everybody's always complaining about the weather.
The weather is an important thing. Everyone talks about the weather, but I will never complain about it being warm.
Yeah, me neither. No,
my
it's
tropical
never,
persona
it's never
will be like,
me.
It's perfect. It's fine.
Yeah,
I'll take
exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah. All right. So we digress, because I want to tell you that I am Clemencia, and I own Moira Studio, which is an advertising agency that speaks to Latinos in the U.S.
And I'm Cecilia, environmental and social justice practitioner, an American from Guatemalan immigrant, community weaver, in conversation with Clem, my querida.
Yeah, an awesome person. So this topic for today is very important to me as an advertiser person. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna put on my advertising hat today and talk about a couple of technical things, but I actually want to get your thoughts on like how you feel, Ceci, about like, first of all, being a consumer, and second, how some of these things that we're going to talk about kind of perpetuate some like not so great things for our community.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to start with a little excerpt that I got from this article in Adweek, in which talks about identity in advertising. Identity is like a buzzword now, and it's like a big thing, and it has different meanings to different people. It's a kind of like a technical term right now, and it's just like the persona that is built from like data. Mm-hmm. So anyway, so here's the excerpt. So the word identity comes from the Latin word ident, which it could be ident or ident, I don't know, ident maybe, meaning repeatedly or again and again. The concept of identity is critically important in advertising. How can we aspire to provide relevant, meaningful messaging if we don't fully understand who we're speaking to?
Okay.
End of quote. So, like I said, vamos a chancletear acerca de esto. So, basically, the way that
how does that
works,
resonate
I'm sure
for you?
Well, it resonates very much, know, and the thing is like, there's this is the one thing that I'm always kind of like holding my flag about, like, yes, like we need to create meaningful advertising, just not like a spew of like content vomit and see what sticks, you know what I mean? So and I spend so much time and effort into really getting to know who we're speaking to, and we we pour over every single word, and the color schemes, and like it's just like we spend so much time on that it's like blasphemy to me that is just like something that may be overlooked by anyone. So so the way that this sort of works is like people put together campaigns based on, most of the times it's based on data, right? So it's like
demographic data.
Yeah, so there's like qualitative and quantitative. Quantitative is basically like hard data, like if we look at this city by the census, 25% of these people are like this demographic, and they're this age, and they're it's just very like hard facts. And then there's the qualitative data, and the qualitative data is usually done, well, it has been usually done by either doing some polls or surveys, doing focus groups, and like asking people about stuff, or nowadays it's being delivered by big data, and that's like I'm sure that everybody watched The Social Network, or what was it? Wait, what was it? What was that documentary about the cookies and like all the information that lives in?
I don't remember.
It wasn't The Social Network. Right? That's the one about the Facebook dude. Anyway, there is a documentary that is talking about the algorithms, and it's like there's this algorithms on social media, and they kind of track your activity and your interest, and like what you click on, and what groups you join, and what kind of content you react to, and what kind of keywords you use. So it's kind of like a little digital stalker. And so they sort of have this profile on you about like what your interests are and what so it's so then they kind of like advertise to you based on that. That is they're trying to make it be like qualitative, so it's like these are the interests of these people, and like they're kind of trying to match, like, okay, so if you were interested on football Facebook groups, then you should be interested in this other thing, kind of, so that's sort of how it has worked. So however, the big data, or qualitative data through social networks is still in its infancy, and it could be pretty good. Like I'm sure that everybody is has been fallen victim of, like, you click on an Amazon thing and then it follows you around everywhere. Yes. And you see that, like, if you look for a hammer and then the hammer appears everywhere, then like every single blog and every single article that you read, and this hammer, you're just like, all right, I'll buy the hammer. So, however, now there's also the advent of ad blockers and browsers that don't track your activity, and people are also turning their social media off, and things like that. I don't know how you feel about that, Ceci.
I think that there's, thanks for all that. I think there's like, let me break it down to like what I think. So when I think of identity, I always think about like, there's your personal identity, the things that make me who I am, the things that make Ceci. So my favorite color, my favorite music, my favorite food, like things that have nothing to do with my social identity, which are some of those demographic categories that kind of, I find them useful. I know that we have discussed a lot about how we feel about being labeled something, you know, but I find understanding social identities useful because they allow me to understand when I am in power and when I am in like a disempowered position. And those identities, like being a man or being a woman, if I live within a patriarchal society, one of them is in advantage and one of them is in disadvantage. If I live in a society that values being cisgender, if I was a trans person, that puts me in a disadvantage. But for example, if I'm an immigrant in the United States, when I'm in my home country, I am not an immigrant. So that position makes me a disadvantage here, but it doesn't make me disadvantaged there, right? So it's contextual. It just helps me personally understand my layout of power. When we talk
and
about
you're like your positioning,
my position
in the world,
and where I am, like, so if I'm thinking, so I think when we're talking about when with companies or, you know, are trying to like advertise to us or communicate to us in campaigns or use that information to deliver a message, there is the ones that I think focus on that things that are personally, or like Ceci is looking for a dress and is looking at this brand, and then if I go from social media,
a blue dress,
from social media from one social media to another social media, I find the ads from that brand all over, right? And sometimes it's a little creepy because sometimes you're like, I didn't, you know, like I said it aloud on my phone. I didn't search for this. I just kind of mentioned it. It's like it's my phone listening to me, but it's not that, right? It could be. So for me, I think like things that come to mind. So like that division of my personal social identity, how I use it to navigate my power, and also how companies use it to like deliver things to me, either messaging, if I am organizing, if I am advertising, if I am sharing news, like, right, like it's also been used to put us in bubbles in which we are in echo chambers, right? So I think that is the issue about messaging, right? And these things, I think for me, I am really concerned with privacy. So I know that in other countries, I don't know how much in the United States, but not in Europe, legislation has finally begun to catch up with how we are tracked. So these big, you know, technology companies have had to adjust what they keep from us. So I'm a person like, I don't use what is that one from Amazon? Alexa. I don't use anything that can hear me in my home.
No.
I don't talk to my phone. You know, people love it, like Siri or Alexa, tell me, like, I'm like, I'll type the question. I don't want, because I'm just like I'm not trusting enough. There's not enough legislation or regulation for me to feel like all this information is being, who is collecting it? What are they doing with it? Another thing that makes me think about is when we started social media, I think a lot of us joined social media in its infancy. I was in college a while back, by the way. But you needed to have like a college for the first one.
Wait, you were in college when you joined social media?
Well, yes, I was in grad school. Was between finishing grad school.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, maybe MySpace.
No,
okay, yeah.
I didn't have a MySpace. The first one I had was Facebook. And you needed a college.
Yeah, my first one was MySpace, and I was in college, but I never considered that a social media network for some reason. But so, it is one.
It is the first one. But the Facebook one, you needed to have a college email account. If you don't have an EDU account, you couldn't log in. So my initial network was all my friends and all my college friends. So I loved it.
So you joined Facebook really early.
Yes. So then it opened up to the public. But initially you needed to have
that's when I joined.
You needed to have an email account from college. And I think we all joined because it allowed us to connect But as the company needed to figure out how to monetize itself so that you could have that service, it started to like, collect your data and sell your data.
Yeah.
And I think that it just brings issues of like, this is coming up of privacy, of who hears, of who keeps the data, what do they do with the data. And
yeah.
So I think for me,
the most important thing to note is that, in order for, I spoke about the ad blockers and all these browsers that don't track you. However, if you're not very technically savvy, you don't turn on any of those things or turn off any of those. Like, there's all this like cookie, all these cookie things that come up whenever you go into the website, and it's like, how many people actually choose let me pick the ones.
That's usually people just go like,
yeah, I just want to get to the content. Like, I was like, allow the cookies.
I was like gonna tell you, I love the websites that allow you to like decline all or accept all, because if you don't have that option, it takes a lot of determination to go in there and uncheck everything and leave only the essential ones and then save it. You have to be really committed. And like what you're saying, at some point, I am just like, just
show me the thing.
Show me the thing.
Just show me the content.
And then I'll be like, delete all the cookies. I'll go in there and delete my cookies. But like, you're right. Yeah. It makes it's not made for us as users. So for me, I am also become, as a consumer, even more wary of the recommendations that come. Like if I'm searching, I don't know, I was telling you, for like, I want to buy new sheets for my bed, and I'm gonna go and find like, I want them sustainable, or I don't know, conscientious to the environment, whatever.
Yeah.
And I make that look. The first things that come to the top that usually say a sponsor, and now they tell you they're a sponsor, but like, I try to be like, are they really the best product for what I'm looking, or is the one that paid the most to appear at the top of the list?
Very good point, Ceci.
I am not. I feel really like, I feel like before, like my search would give me like the best results, and now I don't think so. Yeah,
and then the thing that concerns me the most is like, like you said, they put you in this little echo chamber. And so, like, for instance, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that I am going to like to see makeup advertised on my feed, right? Especially when it comes to like, I've seen ads that are like, cover your blemishes, and it's like, you know what? Screw you about my blemishes. And also like, how to do like cardio so you can like blah 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 and prepare for summer. And I'm just like, I don't like any of this. This is like, I don't want to feel bad about, don't make me try to feel bad about, my body and my face and, my skin or anything like that. But then also it's like, and we've talked about this before, checking the Latino box. Like I am a bilingual person, and all of a sudden, because like I guess because I've consumed or looked for stuff in Spanish, now all of a sudden I get these ads that are like very like Latino, very cliche Latino, and I'm just like, so they put you like in the like let's check the Latino box, and then they're just like, oh, that means that they want Spanish stuff. Here you go. And then and so then it's just like, okay, just because I'm Latina, does that mean that I want to hear about, I don't know, whatever? What I can't even like think of, like, I don't know, I want to hear about
salsa music.
Salsa or mariachis, or like as, I don't know, some sort of Mexican comedian coming to town, or I don't know, whatever. It just feels very disingenuous, and also it feels like they put me in a box that I don't belong to. And so, just like checking the Latino box is not enough, for many different reasons, right?
Yeah.
And also, the checking the Latino box applies to many, many, many things. It's like, we already talked about, the Hispanic Heritage Month, that is like, let me check the Latino box for a month, and try to, say things in Spanish and like highlight very cliche things about our culture. But then there's also the, so that means that these people speak Spanish kind of deal, or hey, that means that everybody's Mexican. So there's that, and that, like, that turns people off from your brand.
Yeah. I think that maybe advertisers or companies that are trying to be more nuanced usually paired up with like now they have influencers or bloggers or stuff, like people who might be more like into a tune, or maybe
one could hope.
You will hope.
Yeah.
But like, I think sometimes they make major blunders about who they think is speaking to a whole swath of that generation, right? Like, and that's the thing, you and I have mentioned it before, and that what is important to have nuanced and complex conversations is that generalizations are sometimes an attempt as an easy solution to a complex situation, and most of the time you can fail very miserably at what you're trying to do by not taking the time to invest in some more research, or in like connecting with people who know the community, who understand. And for example, like I said, I say it at the beginning of every episode, I'm Guatemalan. I have been very fortunate to have traveled through some Latin America. Can I speak for places that I've never been in Latin America? No. I have read a lot, for example, I've read Latin America history. I know some of the general things, but the nuance, if I had to do that work, I will have to research and educate myself and find and connect with people, and all that will take time. And that will mean that there is intentionality on how I'm going to communicate my message, right? So if suddenly, I'm in this city and if I'm going to work, I don't know, let's say, with a specific neighborhood, you have to find out what that neighborhood is, what the composition of that neighborhood is, and all the
different in like what language do the people in that region speak, and also what slang, like it's like something simple, like the convenience stores in New York and in Boston, they call them bodegas. And it's like, if you were to say, I'm gonna go to the, like, I don't know, in different places, you could say it like
in Guatemala,
ways,
la bodega is
like
where
that.
you store stuff,
like a storage.
Like,
so it's like bodega. If you say it in a different, like, if you say that in Texas, they're not gonna get it. And then if you say the convenience store in New England, then people are gonna be like, oh, you're not from here, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, it's kind of like that. Or, the Spanish slang or the bilingual slang in Texas is different from the one in California.
Yeah.
And also, there's different regions of the, like, okay, they're saying, majority of the Latinos are Mexican. But Mexico is a really big country.
It has very, very different, like, cultural in accents and contexts.
Yeah.
And cultural references.
And there's certain regions where, like, people from a certain area have moved to because, like, okay, like one family moved there, and then, the people that they knew moved there, and then all of a sudden there's like a whole community from, like, people from Guadalajara there. So it's like, okay, so then what about the people in Guadalajara? And so it's kind of like it's I'm not trying to make things complicated. They just are.
They are complicated. And I think that obviously it would be really expensive if you took all that. I think that you have to. That's when we say, like, if you have a diverse team, it would allow you to pull from your resource already in house to, like, but if you have everyone who represents the same lived experience, you have less from where to enrich your messaging, campaigns, advertising, or organizing. That's when like when we say that places of employment who have staff that have multiple genders, multiple age groups, multiple generations, multiple locations, multiple languages, have probably the ability to produce much more nuanced and much more granular communication strategies.
Yeah. And also, I mean, I don't know if you agree with me, but maybe this applies to other ethnicities, but Latinos are a very trust based relationship kind of demographic, and it's like I mean, this is how misinformation gets spread. Like, somebody could be telling you this is a green dog, and you're like looking at the dog, and the dog is not green, but it's somebody that you really trust, and you're like, okay, well then the dog must be green then.
Which shouldn't happen, but happens.
This is exagerado, but but this is like sort of how misinformation spreads. It's like, okay, I'm not really sure that makes any sense, but you know what? You may be right because I trust you. You're somebody in my circle of trust, and so I will believe you.
Yes.
And so, or they may say, like, I don't know too much about green dogs, but I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt because I trust you. So it's kind of like, it's very important to gain that trust.
I think that I agree with you, and I think that not only the Latino, like the immigrant community, I think that communities that for a long time have depended on one another for survival. So places in like that in which capitalism has reduced that kind of like family, extended family, in which you had las abuelas, las tías, las primas, el vecino, like the people, like the community will take care of the kids, like. But when we reduce it to the nucleus, like my parents, my dad, and that's it, and I have to pull myself up and I have to do it on my own, like that, I think that you tend to trust less in the community and the messaging from the community. But in places like ours, in which our livelihoods, our survivals depend on our social capital and our connections within that community, of course we trust. So when someone that we trust, there is brands in Guatemala, and for example, there's this chicken, like it's Pollo Campero, and I found it in Boston. I would have never thought about it. I've only eaten it in Guatemala,
is this like a restaurant type?
It's a restaurant started in Guatemala when KFC tried to enter Guatemala years back when I was there. It might be back now. But
is it like fried chicken or like rotisserie?
It's rotisserie and fried.
Okay.
It's a specific. It has a very specific flavor. I tasted it here.
Okay.
It tastes like what I know it should taste from like. But whenever you left the airport in Guatemala, there is a restaurant, and the plane smells like Pollo Campero because everyone leaving is taking boxes. Used to take boxes of this thing with them because if you're leaving, you're not gonna have it for a long time. Ooh. So, but like that is loyalty to something that is very unique, and it's unique because it's a flavor from childhood. I think it's a flavor from home.
Yeah, it's also consistent, right?
Yes,
it's like
it had to taste. Like,
always tasted like that.
Yeah, I tasted it and I was like, I wonder if it tastes like it. And we had it and we were like, no, it tastes like it.
Yeah, it's like it's been consistent for a really long time. It's always been like that.
It's the flavor.
But that's another thing about trust. Reliability.
Yeah.
Like you can always rely for this Pollo Campero to always taste the same. So it's sort of like, okay, like this is how you build trust also. Like, are you reliable? You know, are you going to deliver on your promise?
Yeah.
Are you going to, if your promise is this chicken will taste the same here y en la Conchinchina, then...
Yeah, and I want to tell you this, like, there is times, you know, as
Kathmandu, then it will taste that way.
And as consumers, right, we're so annoying. So, like, because I remember, we're so annoying. I remember going to the restaurant in Guatemala and being like, takeout versus eating in. And I'm like, takeout is cold, and I think that you can eat it if you eat at a restaurant. And so even as sometimes you'll be like, in some restaurants they do like takeout better, and you'll be like, don't go to that one because they don't keep it super warm, and the fries are not like, so like, but what I'm saying is
they're all soggy.
Yeah, so but like, well, you know, that's like with branding, right? That comes to like, if you're gonna have a restaurant, like you want to have always the same experience, and as I said, as consumers, we're really annoying because people have good days and bad days. The people cooking my food might have like a short staff. Like there might be reasons, you know, and we are just like,
we're super annoying.
My chicken was not warm, you know. But the flavor.
Can I speak to your manager? Your chicken.
I wouldn't do that, but like I'm not sure. I'm sure that happens all the time. But what I'm saying, I was really impressed because I was like, it tastes like burger. And I was really happy.
Oh my God, you imagine in Guatemala like going up and be like, can I speak to your manager about the taste of this chicken?
I think that people have tried. I don't know how successful they will be, but I mean, I don't know. It's not in the culture, but like people just be like, I'm not going back there, right? Like that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
But I was just, you know, talking about like loyalty and trust, and when we talk about branding, when we talk about communication, and when I went in there and like there was Central American people serving it, and there were Central American people
You're
consuming
like, this is a
it.
good sign.
You know, and then you know, and so because I think there's the recognition of who is gonna be the people who know what that brand means.
Yeah, it's part of the brand.
Yeah, but
it's
also
part of the brand. If you have, you know, Colombian serving it, you're gonna be like,
no, and not just that is serving it, but it's very close. I think there probably could be other nationalities, but I think if you've had it out, like, I don't know if you like, you know, if you think of a food that makes you think of very much about your home country, or like, and I'm thinking maybe people who have never been, you know, because Latinos sometimes we have been here on this side of the border and not had the opportunity to go back and been born here and are stuck here, or like we don't have the means to go back.
We're stuck here.
We're stuck. So people are stuck here. They don't have the privilege of being able to go back and forth, and
right.
or the means to go back and forth. I think that allows you to connect with some of those things that we know are from our home country, even if we've never been there, or like our family's home country, and that brings a sense of connection. So I think that is what really, if I think of community, my community as a Guatemalan, or even just my situation as immigrant, what I look for when people are speaking to me through messaging is that is clear, that is transparent, that is truthful. Because I think we eventually catch up very quickly, and loss of trust. Yeah. And I wanted to deliver, right? Like, I want to try things, but if they don't work, I'll move on. I'll try something else.
Yeah. But you said something really interesting about the connection, right? It's not just like, I'm going to sell you some chicken. It's like, you know, we are going to create a relationship here, right? And like this Pollo Campero somehow has done that with you. They have created a relationship with you in which, like, from the time that you're a kid until now, you're like, oh my God, if I'm walking in Beijing, China, and I see a Pollo Campero, I'm gonna go in there just because I really believe in this brand. It has made a connection with me. with it. And so it's like, people are really still searching for connection, because like you get served hundreds of ads a day, and what you're truly really trying to do is like reach through and be like, hey, let's hang out here, or like let's get a conversation going, or let's, like, I want a relationship, some sort of relationship with you in which like you can trust me. And it's like, how do you build that? How do you start building that?
I think that I'm old-fashioned in this sense. Because I believe in a lot of high quality, and I find that a lot of the products in the current market are very much built for being disposable and for breaking quick, and you have to consume it quickly enough. I think that quality of what you're doing really, like, I am the kind of consumer who would save to buy something that I find good quality and good craftsmanship or well done, before buying something cheaper multiple times. And I think that aligns also with my consumer like conscience of like environmental like awareness. Just like, how much do I really need? Do I need 10 of this, or can I buy 2 that are really good quality and I can use multiple times? That being shirts, being electronics, being like food. Like, I am looking, so I think for me, what it speaks with branding or messaging is I am particularly looking for truth in what you're telling me that you are selling. And I think that has to be part of the messaging. And sometimes messaging can be very deceiving. You look at something in a photo and then you go get it and it does not look like the photo. That happens a lot with food. It's quite disappointing. You look at the commercials of food and you're like,
there's those like food dressers, and basically like it's not real food.
Yeah. And I'm like, it never looks like that.
It's not edible. It's not edible. Yeah.
Yes. So I think that those are the things that I always think about, like, and that's what I'm like. I am very particular with. I'm really. I don't want to sound paranoid. I think I know enough about media and IA and biases in coding and bias in general to be kind of cautious with I am still the kind of person who has an activated Face ID on a phone, because I'd rather punch the number, because I am not putting my face out there. It's much more convenient. It's commitment to certain, like, you're like, I'm gonna go this way and I'm not gonna do it because I don't know. Like, that's the reason I've never done my DNA.
I was at an airport a couple of months ago, and I was like, I showed my passport and they were like, oh no, just look at the camera, and then it's just like my name appeared. I was like, what?
And that's what I'm saying, like, a lot of my biometrics are already like in the government. Like, they have my prints when I became an immigrant, when I became a resident, like many things, they have them. I don't want to give them, like, I'm not giving them my DNA. There's nothing that regulates that. I'm not giving them my face. There's already enough surveillance in society without regulation and legislation. I feel like I can take a tiny, minuscule amount of power back by being like, I am not giving you my face, or I'm not giving you my DNA. Like, it's not gonna be in the database, and am I curious about things? Of course. Do I wish I could, like, but like, it's fine.
It's fine. And with that,
it's fine.
We have run out of time.
Yes.
and that was really good. Very good insights, Ceci. I'm gonna take some notes on that. I want to know what you guys think out there about what we just talked about. Do you also turn off your ads? Do you also not want to share your face? Or
don't talk to Siri.
Do you feel like the ads that you're being served are authentic and they're actually very targeted to you, or are they like, oh, what is this?
Big generalizations. Yes.
Let us know what you think and your experiences.
Yeah, send some comments.
We have social media. Ooh, we have the devil. We work with the devil.
That's fine.
Yeah.
We saw our soul a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. So we have Instagram, TikTok, Chancleta Generation, and then on Twitter we're Chancleta Gen. And I also have an email, clem@chancletageneration.com, and you can let me know how you feel. And then if you like this podcast, share it with your friends, give us a review, and otherwise we will see you next week.
Excellent.